Renee Good was hit by 4 bullets. She was hit by 2 bullets on the right side of her body, 1 bullet in her left forearm, and another bullet in the left side of her head. So now we know from the forensics that she was actually hit by 4 bullets, not the 3 that we heard in the video.
So first of all, can you just explain to our audience what the situation is currently in Minneapolis? Is this, are there still protesters? Are there still ICE agents on the ground?
There are still both protesters and 3,000 ICE agents on the ground. That's an increase in recent days. And they're still gathering outside the federal courthouse in the center of town, the federal building rather, in the center of town. And it is below freezing temperatures with high wind chill. And so these protesters are out there with these ICE agents in very adverse conditions. And this is continuing.
And why has there been an increase in the number of ICE agents? Is that clear?
Right. So this was in response to the unrest that happened last week as a result of the death of Renee Good, in which ICE afterwards surged more agents to the area, surged more officers to the area, because they felt that the situation was, or they said that they felt the situation was getting out of control and they needed more assets on the ground to keep the peace.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because they're not there as law enforcement, are they? In the sense of police would be. You would think that there would be police there to deal with protesters rather than ICE agents.
Well, there are only 600 police in Minneapolis. That's what the mayor said today. And so that might not be enough to deal with this level of action on the street. Amid calls for like a general strike next week, that might not be a big enough number. But of course, the justification coming from the administration is that they need to amp up their efforts because they're encountering this kind of resistance, like the resistance that they believe that Nicole Good showed to Officer Jonathan Ross.
Now, we've heard overnight that the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the Minneapolis mayor are under federal investigation. Explain to us what that means.
Well, I just want to confirm that so far these 2 officials haven't received these documents describing exactly what they're under investigation for. But what they've been told is that they're under investigation for impeding the work of federal law enforcement by not cooperating with federal law enforcement in their immigration actions. But just to be very clear, it's a core principle of federalism in the United States. That is, that states have different rights than the federal government, and we don't. The founders of our nation did not want the federal government to impose its will on the state for things that the state should be able to manage on their own. So this is a classic conflict along the lines of federalism, and it throws into question the 10th Amendment, which defines those boundaries.
What has there been a reaction from either the governor or the Minneapolis mayor?
So the governor is urging calm. He is trying to de-escalate the situation with President Trump. It's not clear whether he's had the chance to actually speak to him. President Trump is currently in Mar-a-Lago for the weekend. But that's where we are with that. But this is still a very heightened situation, a very tense situation in Minneapolis, especially looking forward to Monday, which of course is a federal holiday because it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And of course, the civil rights hero was known for his peaceful protest against what he saw as oppression by the American government.
It's interesting, isn't it? Donald Trump is obviously known for his forthright views. He's called the governor and the mayor useless, and he's warned that protests in Minneapolis are going to be dealt with quickly and effectively if he's forced to act. What is it that the protesters want that will mean that they will leave the streets and in what are, you're saying incredibly cold temperatures at the moment? What is it they want?
The mayor summed it up. I can't repeat what he said, but he basically said, get out of Minneapolis to ICE officers. That's what they want. They want them to leave.
That's not going to happen, is it?
Eventually, I think it will. I mean, this operation has been going on for 3 weeks. It can't go on forever. There's a finite number of people in that area for them to try to issue warrants for. So eventually, one supposes this targeted immigration operation has to end, just like the operation ended in Chicago. The question is, what will happen in the intervening time. We've just heard reports earlier this week on Wednesday of ICE agents shooting a man in the leg during a targeted traffic stop. That was, of course, a little bit more complicated of a situation. The man fled in his car, then he crashed. Then when the agent was on him, two other men came out and started attacking the agent with a snow shovel and a broom, forcing the agent, in his accounting, to shoot the man in the leg. But I mean, these incidents are happening with regularity, and that's very concerning, and it could boil over.
And is there any more information about, I mean, we've all seen, of course, the video of the shooting of Renee Good, but is there more information coming out? Is there going to be an investigation? What's the fallout from what happened there?
So the FBI is investigating and has told Minnesota state authorities that they can take it. They don't need assistance or backup. Of course, Minnesota authorities would very much like to investigate. But the latest information that we have is from the Minneapolis Fire Department, which put out a report today with the details of the 911 call and the last minutes of her life, but also critically that Renee Good was hit by 4 bullets. She was hit by 2 bullets on the right side of her body, 1 bullet in her left forearm, and another bullet in the left side of her head. So now we know from the forensics that she was actually hit by 4 bullets, not the 3 that we heard in the video.
Thanks, Caroline. Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally, and earlier on, Secretary Nome spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 US citizens were detained by ICE, and Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my
Yeah.
opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat. But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist. So thank you all very much.